The Edo State Government begins payment of the 70,000 naira new minimum wage to workers in the state. This is in fulfillment of the promise to increase the minimum wage from May 2024. During the recent inauguration of the Labour House in Benin City, the state capital, Governor Godwin Obaseki announced the increase of the minimum wage for workers in the state from 40,000 naira to 70,000 naira to cushion the impact of the harsh economy on the people of the state. Now, in a statement on Sunday, the State Commissioner for Communications and Orientation said the payment of the 70,000 naira minimum wage to the workers further demonstrates the commitment of the Obaseki-led administration to the welfare of Edo workers. I can imagine when this was announced and a lot of people screaming and, happy, while some other people being skeptical, oh, government promises again, do we really trust this one? Well, they have been paid for the month of May. Royal Chief, what do you have to say about this theory?
Congratulations to the people of Edo State. I was one of those that said that was a political statement. when we saw that from 40,000 to 70,000, but it's a good one. It's a good one. I want to thank the governor for keeping to his words that actually is looking into the welfare of workers in his state. And starting with the minimum wage, even though it's not enough, but at least that's taking steps, which I think other governors should also challenge, that we can still have governors that have the courage to think about the welfare of the workers in the state. So it's a very good one for me.
All right.
It's a very good one.
All right, let's hear you, Dandy Loveday.
Okay, for me, it's a good one. And I want to start by clapping for the Edo State.
Were you also one of those Nigerians who felt it was a political statement?
Ordinarily, yeah.
You had that thought?
Yeah.
Why do you usually doubt?
It shows that politicians must begin to build confidence within the masses. So a lot have been said, unimplemented. So when you hear things like this, like how possible it is, considering what's happening between NLC currently with the federal government, everybody can just think they have come again. But reading begins. They said begins with payment, and that's wonderful. And congratulations to Edo State workers.
Okay, was it a case of not trusting politicians in general, or what do you think was the case? Why did you doubt the statement at first?
For me, we've had a lot of statements coming from politicians, and that there has not been any actions to back up those statements. And it becomes a concern to Nigerians, mostly a person like me. We heard about government policies without implementing any of those policies. We heard of even the current president have made a lot of promises, and we've not been seeing one coming forth. In other states, we've been hearing about we are going to do this. This minimum wage is not today. The past administration have been promising make a lot of promises to workers, and none has been action. So if we see someone that have actioned it, implement it, is worth to be commended. But that does not mean that the workers is not only the minimum wage that is the need of workers. There are some incentives, promotions of workers and all that. That you pay them minimum wage, they are stagnant at one particular position for years. So like we had here in the States over some time, that workers were not promoted. But thank God for the governor we have in our own River State, start looking into the welfare of promoting workers. These are what give hope for people that is doing this brown collar job,
Brown collar jobs
yes,
now, no longer white.
Yes.
Why the color not brown? Why the color is not brown?
They
Why is it now brown? It used to be white.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you have to say to the workers now? He also mentioned some incentives, and is this really a time for them to be asking for all of that?
Yeah, it's very important. Part of the reason why we are applauding the governor is that recently the 30,000 minimum wage, so many governors have never implemented. Not to talk about the new one. So this is what's applauding. So for him to take that bold step, whether it's for political reason or for anything, whatever it is, we have to give it to him. Then other workers' incentive is important. What's more incentive than higher pay? the workers enjoy higher pay. With this, more workers can go into higher standard of living and then get themselves whatever they need to make work easy and all that. So promotion of the workers is very, very paramount.
Some Nigerians who were in support of the 54,000 naira minimum wage proposed by the federal government have said one of their reasons for being in support of that amount and not in support of the 615,000 that Labour has requested is that they feel like the economy right now cannot handle it. That even if payment is made once, that Nigeria might not be able to maintain paying the workers a huge amount, and that's why they agreed with the 54,000. So do you see this amount being sustained, this 70,000 naira, looking at the current situation of the economy?
You know, we used to have low-cost houses built by government for civil servants over the years. There are some levels that you will climb to in the civil service that you will be given a house, you pay very small amount of money. These awards give hopes to workers because if you are a level 13 workers, as currently now, you cannot afford to pay a 3-bedroom flat that is comfortable enough to accommodate your children and you. You see that they will be crowding at the rural area, looking at where they can pay for their accommodations. But where a government are to provide they have to provide that accommodation and be taking a minor percentage from their salary. These are what civil servant enjoys over the years. You know, they build these houses. Once you are retired, you move out from the apartment and other workers will come in. You see that the job was very, very enjoyable at that time. In the 70s, in the 80s, you see people that in the civil service, they enjoy a lot. But today, government have converted those properties to politicians. You know, in the case of River State here, you can't see a civil servant of level 4, 5, 6, 7 seeing accommodations. You know, you can't see it except you are almost like 1 year to retired before you can be talking about
your own house.
Yes, your own house. How can you build a house? We are talking about 70,000 minimum wage for a particular state. You know, how can you, and you have 35 years to work? Maybe your promotion doesn't come as when due. You are stagnant at the particular positions for overtime, you know. And again, there is no much training for them like we have before.
There's no more training
for civil servants like we have before. You have to do training. You'll be hearing about ministries doing training, giving them capacity building, you know, taking them for excursions for other states.
So that was taken away from the federal civil servants or from state civil servants?
Federal civil servants, state civil servants, they are not being trained again like in these days. So we start to see this thing coming forth. You will see that with the minimum wage increment, even though we talked about sustainability because of the economy, if you provide these amenities, these necessary things that are necessary for human being to effectively do work, you know, it will be very, very good for every individual. For every, you know, it is against the civil service rule that you are engaged and you are doing any other job. Once you are engaged as a government-paid worker, you are not expected to do any other job. You are dedicated for that particular job. So what moves you is when you have some certain incentive, not the salary alone. They have provision for vehicle that will take you from your destinations to work, and you are sure of coming back home once it is 4 p.m. The vehicle will take you home. You pay a minimum, very small amount. Just like we are talking about hiring and transportation. For instance, where you live, you pay 200 naira, generally. As a civil servant, there are ways that they handle civil servant. Maybe you will pay 50 naira to save your salary, to save your money. Even in the facilities, the secretariat, you see the cost of purchasing things are very cheap because they know these people, they earn very small amount of money. So if they can be seeing this, you are employing, you are giving an apartment based on your level. You are employed, you know that the source of the means of going to work, it is very guaranteed. If there will be no vehicle, they will communicate ahead of time. That social time, there will be no vehicle for you so that you prepare yourself. You know, I work in the secretariat for some time before I resigned from that particular job. I know what happens there. You will be seeing civil servants enjoying, lining up to enter those vehicles, but we don't see them, those buses, we don't see them again these days. And I don't think it was only Rivers State that was handling that particular scheme. You know, there are a lot of things that it is not only minimum wage, and the labor should wake up and demand for all these things. It's not only about minimum wage. Other incentive that is necessary. There are things that they do. You can seek for training. You can seek for educations while you are on a particular job. Promotion exams, you must go for seminars and all that to equip yourself. But we don't see it coming forth these days. We don't see it coming forth these days. And just because most of the civil servants, most of our workers, they don't know that, they don't take the work serious. I may put it like that they don't take the work serious.
They do not take
if you take your work serious, you demand for what it is meant for you.
So they are not demanding because they are not taking their work
Of
serious.
course, it may be they are not implementing the civil service rule that says that you must not do any other job.
But are you sure about these incentives not being provided recently, in recent days?
These are visible things. These are things that everybody can see. I'm not talking about senior from level 12, 13, 14, they can classify you as a senior civil servant. You know, at that level, you can afford for some certain things. You can do certain things on your own. But we are talking about those other levels of civil servants. From level 8 or 9, 10, 12. What can you do when you don't see an accommodation provided by you, by government? It is in the law. It is in the civil service rule that we are going to provide this for you to enable you work effectively. If you go to town in those days, you will see, if they tell you that your parents are civil servants, you'll be happy. Because you live in free houses, you know, you don't subscribe, there is free subscription for the cable network you watch, then there is free water, free medical,
children.
Free, everything free. So why wouldn't you be taking the work serious? It's not only these days you see we are trying to have this health scheme. As a civil servant, you have free accommodation, free medical, free, most of things free. Even the school your children attend, it's sometimes free education. So these are incentives that labor should be demanding for, not only minimum wage.
All right, let's get to hear you, Dandy Loveday. Royal Chief has stated that they are not asking for these incentives probably because they're not serious with work. And these incentives will help, you know, motivate these workers. You've stated earlier that what is more better than an increase in pay. Who should be talking about incentives now? So let's get to hear you.
Incentive, well, you know, you don't rule out incentive in all of this. You don't. What I mean, my point is, increase in salary is part of it. Incentive, like you mentioned, is also good. Now, if you give a worker, if every civil servant at a certain grade, or you want to make it at all level, you have free accommodation, free buses, all that. If I get to an extent where you give us car loans, now that's perfect. That's trying to motivate the workers to put in their best. But there's something you mentioned where you said, is it that some Nigerians are agreeing to the 54,000 naira because the government may not be able, and I don't even agree to that 54,000 naira. Even the 70,000 naira is not much. It's not, considering the current economic reality. So settling for 54,000 naira is not. Increasing the workers' salary is paramount. Giving the workers accommodation is paramount. Going for other incentive to bring out the best in the workers is very important. And then providing security in their area of work is very important. So I think it's important for the government to take more steps, take the civil service work, the civil servants serious. Take them serious at all levels, go to the private sector. Any way you can encourage the private sector. With this, we're going somewhere as a country. Outside that, I don't even know where we're going.
All right, but how do we solve the problem of that some people have stated about civil servants not being serious, and also the problem of having, should I say, portfolio civil servants now, civil servants, names that do not exist, but these people are being paid. We've had cases like that raised. If this is maintained or if this is continued, that means it's going to cause a strain on the finance or the purse of that particular state if they are paying people who are not available. So how do we solve that problem?
What is government and what is governance? The government have their way of tracing all this. Who is even fixing the name? So you should start from the top. Can the ordinary civil servant in his office or our office, the lower level civil servant, can they go there and fix them? Who is fixing the names? So the governor or whoever that is in charge wants to take it upon himself or herself to root out this. It's important. Then talking about government not being able, government should go ahead to take governance seriously. Not only trying to trace out ghost workers. It's important they know how to trace out. They know. They know. Workers not being serious, how? If you motivate any worker with a conscience, with the right motivation, they work. Give them a good environment, working environment. Provide what is needed. The pay alone, the level of persons you see rushing down to work, you ask yourself, is it how it is? The level of productivity you will get from it. I'm not hungry, I'm well fed, everything is provided for. What am I then doing?
It looks like it begs the question, when do we get there? Where everything will just be put in place. But let's look at next.